of weaponizes that a little bit. Like they'll be like, well, I'm traditional, therefore I'm better than you, but I don't, I don't really care. I just for reference, I like to put that in there because it's very important to my my work. So I was named the fastest dishwasher east of the Mississippi in 2012. I worked at a casino where I was a dishwasher, and they had like a competition with like a couple other casinos and restaurants and stuff, and I came in first place. So I just wanted to put that in there because I'm very proud of that. I'm currently in my second year, going into my third year of Indigenous Governance and Business Management. Something that I am hopefully will carry me into a lot of things that I want to do post-graduation. I consider myself a researcher of all things Cheyenne culture, and more recently, Blackfoot culture. Probably Blackfoot for the last 2 years, and of course, Cheyenne for most of my life, because that's where I grew up, and that's a tribe that I have more familiarity with. And another thing too, I love to dance. I am a dancer. When the vibe is good and when the music's popping, I like to bust out a move. I am not a powwow dancer though. So whenever I say I like to dance, like sometimes, people are like, oh, but you mean like powwow? I'm like, no, I just regular bust a move kind of moves, So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Next slide, please. Now, how I wanted to start us off was just talking about what sinew actually is. Some of you are probably familiar with sinew, but sinew is a tough fibrous tissue uniting muscle to bone or bone to bone, a tendon or ligament. The sinews in the back or leg are the most common use for sewing, beading, and sinew backing. And then so like when someone says, oh, he tore his Achilles heel, that's the sinew in the ankle, the leg there. So it's very, very painful. But it's a very versatile material. Next slide, please. So sinew was the main material used for beading, sewing, backing bows, and like I also know that they used to throw the scraps of sinew into like a big pot, and they would make hide glue from that with like rawhide as well, which is a very valuable thing to know, hide glue. Many tribes across many continents have used sinew in some capacity. It's a very versatile material that can last a long time and can make your works last a long time. I've talked about this with my couple of my friends before who like do beading and stuff. I'm like, those things that you see in museums, a lot of times they're made with sinew. And if you have good sinew and good brain tan leather, your works will last you virtually like a lifetime. But over time, sinew was replaced with cotton thread, as it's just easier to bead with thread rather than sinew. And that's just kind of the main thing too among like post-reservation period, is that there was a lot of changes and stuff because it's just easier, right? It's easier to make a canvas teepee than it is to make a teepee out of buffalo hides. And the same thing with beads. It's easier to do beadwork than it is to do quill work. So of course, those changes are going to take over, and they're going to be more prevalent and stuff like that. So, but even so, we've indigenized a lot of that stuff. Next slide, please. Items made with sinew. A lot of things. Everything was made with sinew. Moccasins, leggings, the beadwork, headdresses, of course, teepees. Basically anything back then that was sewn, beaded, or anything like that, pre like 1860 was like all sinew. And even after 1860, sinew was still a very common material to use for beading. But and then one thing I kind of wanted to mention, and the reason why I put that headdress in there, one of the reasons why I wanted to learn sinew, and there's many reasons, learn to bead with sinew, is traditionally among the Cheyenne, sometimes like a man or a warrior who had a dream, he'd be like, well, I I had this dream, and the dream told me that uh, I would have good luck and medicine for when I go to battle, but I have to have a headdress that has no quote unquote white man made stuff on it. So I've seen examples of like a headdress made with all sinew, feathers, quill work, and the trail are made from like hide and just like feathers and stuff. So among the Cheyenne, I don't know about Blackfoots, but I know among the Cheyenne, sometimes that was a thing that you saw. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to learn, because one day, hopefully, I can make stuff like that. Because right now I can't really do that, but hopefully one day I can make something as big as a project as that. Next slide, please. What you need to bead with sinew. It's pretty much the same as beading with thread, although thread is, I always say, more streamlined. You just need thread, a needle, some beads, and some leather, and that's it. You're good to go. But with sinew, you have to take a couple of things into consideration. Number one is you're going to have to use brain tanned leather. And brain tanned leather is basically the native way to make leather. And that process requires getting an animal hide, getting the brains, and maybe an organ or two, like the liver. You mix it up into a solution, you put it onto a hide. And of course, before you do that, you scrape the hide, the hair off, and you scrape the flesh off. You put that solution on, it softens it, and then you smoke the hide, which makes it last a lot longer. Commercially tanned leather is the modern way how we get a majority of leather. It's where the animal hides get transferred into a factory or like a warehouse or something, and then they just pump it full of chemicals that soften it up. And the reason why you don't want to use sinew on commercially tanned leather is because there's a lot of residual chemicals left in that leather that will eat away at your sinew. One of my friends had to learn that the hard way, but yeah, that's a no-go. You have to use brain tanned leather. And you need an awl. Awls come in many shapes, forms, and lengths. Many were made out of bone. A lot of times you can make bone awls from the leg bones of animals because that's where the straightest bone is, and it breaks pretty easily. And of course, once trading came along, you had awls made from metal. And an interesting little side note here, they would make awls out of like nails or anything that they could find. Like that was one thing that I really appreciate about like my people, is that we were pretty good recyclers, you know. My dad used to always tell me, yeah, when they come across like wagons and stuff, they would just kind of tear it down for like the wood or like the little metal pieces in it, just for anything, for like adornment in like a necklace, or make arrowheads, make awls, and or make even knives, you know. And they would use like the planks of wood to make like war clubs and other things too, like tobacco boards and stuff like that. And when you are working with brain tanned leather, you have to consider the thickness of the hide. You know, like a lot of people don't really take that into account sometimes. Like you wouldn't, I have a hide here, but you wouldn't use the back end of or the buttocks area of a hide to make like your uppers on a moccasin. You'd probably use that for like the sole. And then you'd use like the upper neck part here for like the actual uppers of the moccasin. Next slide, please. Now, I didn't know if I might do this maybe after the slideshow's done, but I was just gonna do like a little demonstration. Yeah, I was testing it last night. I was like, I think I can show you guys like from here. So I was just kind of like demonstration or maybe not. The little cat there. So yeah, so maybe after I get done with the slideshow here, I think there's only like one or two slides left, but I can definitely just do a quick demonstration. These are a couple of my works in progress right now. The one in the bottom right corner is a blanket strip. I should have took an update photo. I don't know exactly where it's at, but I got about a quarter way through, so it's a lot more beaded now. It looks really nice. It's going to be hosted onto a blanket, and maybe during Sundance or during ceremonies, I'll wear it and show off a little bit. Because because that's something that was very often back then, was that, guys, especially guys, you dress to impress. So I really wanted to just kind of get into that a little bit myself. So and then in the bottom left is what's called a hair drop ornament, or what I've heard it referred to as a gumball hair drop. Essentially, it's made from buffalo hair that's on top of the head. Like if you ever see those videos of like a buffalo just kind of like shaking their head, you'll see like all these hairs on top of it kind of fly up. That's the longest hair on the buffalo that you will use to make that. And of course, you can use human hair too. Of course, that there were definitely human hair once made. And it's basically kind of like making a dread. You comb it out, you spin it together, and then you apply what's called pine resin mixed with charcoal into each individual braid, and you melt it on it, and it keeps it from like, fraying or like coming apart. So I'm almost done with that. I gotta go collect my pine resin. I made a couple holes in some trees, pine trees. So I got to go do that here, probably even next week if I remember. And then that is my moccasins there on the top there. That is my first pair of moccasins with all sinew, and I'm very proud of it. It was something that I was like, sinew, it's kind of tough. It's kind of like this and that. I know one of the guys who was helping me kind of understand how to do it was like, yeah, just make sure to keep in mind that your first project with sinew is going to take you a lot longer than it is going to with thread. But he's like, if you keep at it, it will just become like second nature. And yeah, it definitely, after you get, for me anyway, after you get through the first row, it's like, okay, I can do this all day, So I'm very proud of that. And it's a Cheyenne design. It's a Cheyenne male design. So that one of my teachers from Cheyenne country gave to me. So I will be using that for my moccasins there. And then I think there's just one more slide after that. A couple final thoughts that I wanted to just kind of put out there is cotton thread versus sinew. I personally like beading with sinew now that I've experienced it, but I only encourage people to learn it if you want to. It's not necessarily I guess important in a sense that it makes you like a better like Indian. Like I've had that conversation with some people because I'm part of like a couple circles on like social media, and some people will be like, well, because it's not beaded with sinew, it's not legit. And it's like, I don't like to listen to those people, because I'm just like, yeah, it's a fun project. It's something that I will personally hold as knowledge for people who want to learn it, but it's not like a necessity, So I don't know. I just heard that conversation a couple of times, and I just wanted to bring that up. I want to see more Indigenous people use and know these methods, especially the young people. Whenever I'm at the university, whenever I come across like a Native person and we strike up a conversation, I automatically go, "Oh, do you bead? Oh, you bead? Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, do you want to know how to bead with sinew? No, you're gonna run away now? Oh, okay, sweet." Um, so I really want to see young people learn these things, because in our culture, right, young people are the future. So I want to teach as many young people not only this, but how to make things. So like I'm right now, I want to teach people how to make the hair drop. I want to teach people how to make hide glue, how to make bows, how to make a quiver, and so on and so forth, just so that a lot of people, not just me, will know that stuff. And that's just better for the culture, right? The more people that know, the better chance you have of your culture surviving. Don't be afraid to message me any questions or anything. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I really do. That's like one of my hobbies, is like I will research this stuff. I will call people. Like within the last couple of months, I've been kind of taking the back seat on like going to visiting people in person, especially elders, because of like COVID and stuff. But I still call them. I'm like, hey, I want to know this do you happen to know what this means or whatever? And so I'm very interested in a lot of those things, and for a lot of other tribes too, not just Cheyenne or Blackfoot, but like I like to know things about other tribes like the Hidatsa or the Pawnee or even like the Omahas and Osages. I love learning that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is the end part of my actual presentation. Real quick, I just wanted to show, like, so this was beaded with just cotton thread, and then this was beaded with sinew. You can't really tell the difference, right? So I just wanted to make that clear because, again, just referring back to, cotton thread versus sinew, it's just kind of like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, I guess. But so this is elk backstrap sinew. It's pretty long. This is my favorite sinew to use other than buffalo because it's long and it provides a lot of long threads. And basically in its raw form, after you hunt the animal, you just take your knife and then you carve it along their back, and then you just kind of pull this out while you're cutting it out. And then you put it on a table and you take your knife and then you just start scraping it. And that gets rid of all that meat and that membrane off of it. And then you just leave it to dry for a couple of days. And after a couple of days, it'll be ready to go. I think this was actually one of my cousin's elks. And then once it's dry, it's going to be like crystal hard. Well, not crystal hard, but it's going to be really stiff. So what you're going to do is you're going to do this, start wringing it a lot. And then you just find a nice suitable thread like this one. And then you just start getting it wet. You could just use like a cup of water too if you don't want to do this. Some people get kind of squeamish. Sometimes I just pop the whole thing in my mouth. And then once you get it nice and wet, you're just gonna like put it on a surface where there's like a little bit of tension, and then you're just gonna kind of roll it like that, and it's gonna come nice and straight. And then you let it dry for a quick sec. I've made a bunch here already, just for my projects and stuff. You're gonna take one. I like to save these little short ones for when I make like bowstrings, so I'll save those for later. This looks like a nice one. And you got your brain tan leather here. This is the skin side. So this is the side you're going to do all your pencil work on for your design. That's the flesh side. There's all these like little bits of stuff on there, little fuzzy bits. And so where is my awl? Right here. This is my awl. It's just a little cheap awl. I'm making myself an awl right now out of a nice screwdriver because this one's kind of dainty. It's kind of like a cheap metal. This is the only one I had on me at the time. So, and then you're going to kind of fold your leather like that at your start point. And then, and because you don't want the stitching to be on the other side, so you're just going to poke a hole through the actual epidermis level of the sinew like that. Be careful not to push too hard because you might just go through it and poke yourself. Then just go through like that. I have it like that. And then just bring it as through as you want. I like to get the end wet here. And then when you have like a line for your designs on there, you're going to want to start at that line at the beginning. So you just do another hole like so. And then you're just going to put this tip through that hole. Sometimes you need to re-awl it because it closes on you. And then you go through again like that. Now you don't need to tie a bunch of knots with sinew because it's going to dry in place and it's going to become stiff again and it's not going to work itself through those holes. So you just, I have a little loop here. You take the end of the sinew that you had when you first poked it through, and you're just going to bring that through that little loop, and then you just pull down, and that's all you need to do. Of course, this is better if it's in person, but you guys probably get the idea. And then I just kind of just pull it a little bit just to make sure it's tight a little bit. And then you just let it dry for like 30 seconds, and then you're ready to go. That's not going to come out. Like I'm pulling pretty hard on that. And so, yeah, and then you're ready to go. You just put some beads on, you poke another hole through here, and you just do your lane stitches. Pretty similar to beading with just thread. It's just you don't go all the way through. You poke a hole through the epidermis of the leather. So that is it. Thank you.